Have you ever felt like life is just too much? Like no matter what you do, you're constantly exhausted. Physically, mentally, emotionally. It's as if the ground beneath you is slipping away, and you're barely holding on. As I've tried to build a life that feels right for me, one that doesn't follow the more traditional path, I've realized just how isolating that journey can be. In January of 2023, I made a decision that changed everything. I quit my well-paying job to travel, get my degree, and pursue my dream of making films. And while that may sound exciting, the reality was much harder than I ever expected. I've struggled. A lot. There have been days, weeks, even months where I've buried myself in my distractions just to avoid dealing with the thoughts in my head. And if I'm being honest, I still struggle with it. Pursuing my dreams has solved some problems, sure, but it's also created new ones. And I think that's something we don't talk about enough. We often believe that once we fix one area of our life, everything else will just simply fall into place. But that's not how it works. The struggles don't disappear. They just change. And maybe that's not a bad thing. Maybe that struggle is part of what gives life meaning. But there's one struggle that actively works against us. One struggle that slowly wears us down until there's nothing left inside to feel but fear. Worry. You know that feeling. The endless overthinking, the decision paralysis, the fear of making the wrong move. It's exhausting. And the crazy part? It's wired into us. Our brains are stuck in survival mode. Thousands of years ago, our ancestors lived in a world full of real, physical threats. Predators, rival tribes, natural disasters. Their brains evolved to keep them alive by constantly analyzing danger. The ones who were better at spotting threats, they survived. They thrived. And over generations, that instinct became part of who we are. The problem is, we don't live in that world anymore. We're not fighting off saber-toothed tigers or battling starvation. But our brains haven't caught up. Instead of worrying about survival, we now worry about things like jobs, relationships, and social expectations, treating them as if they're life or death situations. And that's where things start to go wrong, because when we overanalyze everything, we create danger where there doesn't need to be. We trick ourselves into thinking that making a choice, any choice, is a risk we can't afford to take. And that's when we get stuck. Have you ever noticed how easy it is to focus on the bad? A single negative comment, a past mistake, a criticism from someone you care about. It sticks with you, doesn't it? That's because our brains are wired to prioritize negativity. It's a survival mechanism. And when we constantly expose ourselves to negative thoughts, whether it's through social media, the news, or our own self-doubts, we train our minds to see problems everywhere. But here's the kicker. Overthinking actually makes us feel good. Every time we analyze a problem, our brains reward us with the small hit of dopamine, the same chemical that makes us feel good when we eat, achieve something, or get a like on social media. So we get stuck in a loop. We overthink, we feel a temporary sense of relief, and then we keep doing it. But nothing actually changes. We convince ourselves that thinking is progress, that planning, analyzing, and weighing every possible outcome is the smart thing to do. But in reality, we're just avoiding action. And the more we stay stuck in our heads, the harder it becomes to actually move forward. So what's the solution? Action. No one is coming to make the decision for you. No one is going to tell you exactly what to do next. You have to choose. And that's terrifying. But it's also the only way forward. You don't need to have all the answers. You don't need to know exactly where you're going. You just need to take a step. Any step. Because action, real action, is what forces us to grow. Not thinking about it, not planning it, but doing it. So if you're stuck, if you're lost, if you're drowning in overthinking, stop. Stop analyzing every detail. Stop waiting for the perfect moment. Stop convincing yourself that you're not ready. And just act. Because in the end, growth doesn't come from thinking about change. It comes from stepping into that change, that unknown, and trusting that you'll figure it out along the way.